all right, now listen, you're not in trouble, okay, but we need to sit down and we need to talk about something because it's, quite frankly, it's gotten out of hand. And I don't know how much longer we can go on sustained like this. So that's why I'm sitting you down today. I know you're nervous, but there's no need to be nervous, okay? Some things are going to change, okay? And that's a good thing. I've been looking at your screen time. I don't know what apps you're on. I don't know who you're talking to on there, but we're going to have to start reeling the phone usage back in. That was a conversation that like my parents would have with me that would freak me the fuck out. If my parents were ever like, we're going to have to look through that phone. If the phone goes, I go with it. Probably because I was like terrified that if my parents looked through my phone, they would see that I was like texting the fuck word and like the shit word to my friends when I was 14. Yeah, I like have been attached to the phone at the hip since prepubescence. And just this year have I really like denounced the phone. Because let me tell you, I went D1 in phone usage. I think screen time is a very helpful tool, but to a certain degree, once you've seen like for weeks and weeks consecutively that your screen time is like averaging 9 hours a day, oh, sue me. The impact of seeing my screen time just doesn't really do it for me anymore. I'm just like, oh, well, there goes another week. Until this year. So for Christmas, my boyfriend's mom got my boyfriend and I a brick. We share it. We have shared custody. No, she got us both a brick, which is just a device. I think it's like an RFID chip. You tap your phone to it and it disables whichever apps you choose until you tap your phone to the brick. Again, the physical brick. I keep mine on my refrigerator and it makes me get up if I want to look at Instagram.gov, TikTok.gov. And so I started using this at the beginning of the year because a big goal of mine was to lock back into real life. And I kind of had just accepted that as a part of life. Like the phone, Instagram, social media, algorithms, they're all just a part of my life now. And I like will always carry this guilt of like, you should be off of that. That's not good for you. But then I like actually did something about it and it's working, which is awesome. I bricked my phone for the first week, like for an hour or two at a time. And then I completely have been bricked off of the apps I chose, which were Instagram and TikTok, and then Instagram and TikTok.com. So I'm not even getting on Safari to look at TikToks. I feel depraved at times. I've looked at YouTube shorts a few times. I've been on Facebook a little bit, but the social media that like kills me, the creativity I possess, and the authenticity of my life is bricked up. Last week, bricked my phone and like left the house and was out for the entire day. And when I came back home, I just went straight to bed and I didn't unbrick my phone. And I loved that feeling. So the next day I was like, you know what? I'm just going to not unbrick my phone. And now I've been bricked up for 9 days. It hurts. I literally called the doctor and they said they can't do anything about it, that I just have to wait for it to go down. I've tried everything. I've tried the time limits on the apps. I've tried to replace scrolling on my phone with actual hobbies. I've tried to like expand my attention span with reading, watching movies, watching longer YouTube videos. None of that really worked until I just accidentally left my phone bricked. And now the floodgates of life have opened. This is so unserious, but it is also very serious. The phone was wounding me. The phone and I felt like had this relationship where I was like, I love you and you do nothing for me in return. You ruined my life and I've been nothing but good to you. Like the phone is a toxic relationship where like you love them so much, but they are so bad for you. But you keep going back because it's like, maybe this is a me thing. Maybe it's just my fault that this is what the way that this is. And to a degree, that is true. It is your fault that you are addicted to social media, but also algorithms exist and we are meant to be keeping our attention on our phones, on social media. It is designed for that in this attention-based market. Attention is the commodity, and every app is competing for that. And it kind of made me a little bit sick, but I was like, well, I guess I'm gonna still get my scrolls in, even though I'm directly putting money into the pockets of people I do not like, who I do not appreciate what they're doing to this world and the views that they have and the administrations they like to back up. When my dislike and disdain and disapproval for these tech conglomerates fully came into view, I started feeling really, really bad being on the phone. It wasn't just like, oh, this is a waste of time. It's like, oh, this is supporting people who I personally believe are evil, and I'm putting money directly into their pockets. Oh, so let me go watch some video. No. So breaking the phone addiction, if I could do it, and I want to paint you a picture. I've been self-employed for like 4 years now, doing social media as my full-time job, and I would spend hours of the day doing research, which is just scrolling, and I never call it research, by the way, but I would wake up, scroll, sit and have my coffee, scroll, like barely make time in my day for work, which is like planning videos, like doing things I'm good at. I wouldn't do any of that, or I would do that, but in the smallest capacity possible, and I wouldn't have any chance for my creativity to flourish because I was not giving it time at all to do so. It was just like, let me go do the bare minimum and let me go back to the phone on TikTok or Instagram. And that was day in, day out for years. Hold on, they're damn scraping the Marianas Trench outside. Can you hear that? I'm also filming this the day after the blizzard that hit New York City. And can I say it's so magical to live somewhere where it actually snows, like in the South. It would always be like, well, there's a chance we're going to get about 3 inches of snow tomorrow, so fingers crossed, go get your bread, your milk, and your eggs. And then I'd wake up, be so excited to see the snow, and I'd look out my window, and there would be nothing, tumbleweeds rolling by. So to be in a place where it actually does snow, the wintertime is so magical and whimsical and cold. Anyway, if I can do it, so can you. I didn't think the brick would really be like a long-term solution. I thought it would be kind of like a little middle ground for me to kind of get some more work done that I actually do care about, and then still like think about kicking the phone habit. But now I don't check Instagram, I don't check TikTok, I haven't scrolled in 9 days. I'm clean. My life has completely become my own again. I had this flood of interests and hobbies that came back to me that I remember having as a kid. So like, I wouldn't say that I've spent less time on the phone. I would just say the phone has become far more beneficial for me than it ever has been before. I am going hard on Pinterest. I spend a lot of time on Depop. That's where I doom scroll at night. And I'm also in Duolingo. Now, here's my bone to pick with Duolingo. If you get rid of all the little pop-ups in the middle of the lessons, the like, you've earned 20 gems, that's more than your friends so far this week. I don't care. I want to speed through this because I'm agitated when I'm having to skip through everything. Other than that, love you so much. Thank you for teaching me French. I've also been going really hard on YouTube. Now, YouTube Premium was one of those things that I was like, I will never get a YouTube Premium subscription. They will never get my money. What do you mean $18.99 a month for YouTube Premium? And you ask me every single time I watch a video if I want to pay that each month, and I am always saying no. Well, you wore me down. Newest subscriber here. I didn't realize how overstimulating the outside world was due to the overstimulation I experienced from my own phone. Seeing ads, hearing audios, like 15-second audio clips that were loud. I'm wiping in the bathroom. There's a TikTok sound playing when I'm cooking. I'm like trying to scroll on my phone. That's overstimulating. And now being off of the phone, off social media, I walk outside and I'm like, and then like a snowplow drives by and it's like This is also a side tangent. I feel like cities should have external base stimulation levels. So like New York City, for example, I feel like would have an external base stimulation of like an 8. But In a rural town, maybe the external based stimulation is at like a 4 or a 6. Anyway, as far as like my purpose in this life, I struggled with that for ever. When you can do anything you want, what do? You sit and you scroll on that damn phone. And now that I don't scroll on that damn phone anymore, it has become abundantly clear that I can do exactly what I want to do in this life. That is so loud. When I have silence, I am immediately freed up to dream of anything and dream of all the steps that I need to take to get there. So that's been a reassuring feeling to come back from being lodged in phone land. Now I'm just like, the world is my oyster. I can do everything. When you're off social media, like, time feels abundant and it feels like it passes by so much slower. Another thing that's kind of come as a result of this is I pay so much more attention to my environment. So my room is so much cleaner as a result. I'm eating so much better as a result. I'm working out like every day as a result. I then feel better. I look better. I present myself better. And I just feel far more human than I ever did being on the phone, which, like, duh. I'm looking at this sheet I wrote out for like what to talk about on here. And I wrote down my hobbies. My hobbies are DJ. I've not learned how to DJ. I use Spotify Mix, the little like DJ setup they have in there, which is so much fun. I wake up in the morning and I'm like Becca from Pitch Perfect. I'm like, I also enjoy, another thing I wrote on here was silence. Another hobby of mine's just sitting in silence. Yeah, that felt good. I don't know if this is a hobby, but I wrote down no FOMO. That's a big thing. When I'm not seeing what other people are doing, how would I ever feel like I'm missing out? When I see my friends now, there's so much to talk about and ask about because I'm not seeing their every single move on social media. And likewise, they're not seeing my every single move on social media. So our interactions are far more gratifying and substance-based because we have things to discuss. I actually think there's one downside to not being on Instagram and TikTok, aside from, hey, that's where I make my money. So I got to figure that part out. But the downside to that is, well, it's not really a downside. It's just like, I need to pull myself up and remember who I am. I need to lift my head up. Queen, my tiara is falling. I am not a person who looks to the future. I live in the present. I decide what I want in the present, and the future and thinking about the future has always led to anxiety for me. And I feel that now, where now I'm looking to my future, and it's been very beneficial to do that. I feel a little anxious doing that. So that's something I'm learning about myself. And I don't think that there's any negative that you could go through in this life in general. This is a big sweeping statement. But I don't think there's any negative you could go through that's not going to be a very valuable lesson. So, like, for this as an example, to not be anxious about the future, like, that's what I'm practicing right now. Like, to have these thoughts, like, oh, well, what's going to happen when I do this? Or what's going to happen there? Like, remember that it always has worked out for me. Cross that bridge when you get there. And as important as looking to the future is, it's also very important when you're off of social media to make sure that you are still paying attention to the news. Getting your news off of social media is a valid place to get your news. I can't stand when people are like, oh, what's your source? Oh, social media? Okay. That is where news breaks now. And that is where majority of people are reached. And news is tailored to social media in the same way that it's tailored to a website. It's biased and it's available. So just as you're getting your news from a website, that website social media page is still a valid place to learn of events happening in this world. So for me personally, it is so important to know what is happening in politics. And I can't stand when somebody's like, oh, what's the use in knowing? I can't do anything about it. Like, oh, okay, so I know, and then what? You know, and then you know. So I'm like, can the newspaper boy, can he throw that newspaper all the way up to my window? I'll catch it. I'll send my cat out there. He'll grab it for me. But also YouTube is a wonderful supplemental tool to get the news. I like to start my morning out with the Up First podcast from NPR News on Spotify. I'm sure there are other daily podcasts that come out, but I fuck with NPR. So the phone is an awesome tool. I still use my phone all the time, but to cleanse myself of Instagram and TikTok, two places where there is nothing in there for me. I've seen everything, it feels like, and especially with the introduction of AI, I really feel like I've seen everything. There's nothing left in there for us. Please go be a person in the world. It feels really, really, really good. And hell, maybe get a brick. I don't know. They don't sponsor me, but like, Lord have mercy, have they turned my life around? My chains are gone. I've been set free. Did I hit that? All right. Thanks for listening. Bye.